everyone can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Nobody else should play controls. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Gopi Jana Vallabha Idivada Davari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Idivada Davari Gopi Jana Vallabha Idivada Davari Jaya Gopi Jana Yasodhanandana Raja Jananandana 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 Yamuna Tira Vanachavamati Yamuna Tira Vanachavamati Yamuna Tira Vanachavamati Yamuna Tira Vanachavamati Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Shriya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada. Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Shriya Prabhupada.
Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Shriya Prabhupada.
Shri Radha Golokananda ki
Jai,
Shri Radhastami Mahamotsav ki
Jai.
Nitai Gaur Premanande. So we shall read from Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you can repeat after me. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela chapter 4, text number 69. Mahabhava Swarupa Shri Radha Thakurane, Sarvaguna Kane Krishna Kanta Siromani. You can repeat the word for word after me. The translation and the purport is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Brihat Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Mahabhava of Mahabhav Swarupa the form Shri Radha Thakurane Srimati Radharani Sarvaguna of all good qualities. There's a feedback on the microphone. Who knows sound? Once again, Shri Radha Thakurane Srimati Radharani Sarvaguna of all good qualities. Ane mine. Krishna Kanta of the lovers Krishna,
O Lord Krishna,
Siromani,
Shiromani,
crown jewel.
crown jewel.
Translation. Shri Radha Thakurani.
Sri Radha Thakurani,
Okay, everyone. Shri Radha Thakurani
Sri Radha Thakurani
is the embodiment
is the embodiment
of Mahabhav.
of Mahabhav.
She is
She is
the repository
the repository
of all
of all
good qualities
good qualities
and the crest jewel
and the crest jewel
among
among all
the lovely consorts
the lovely consorts
of Lord Krishna.
of Lord Krishna.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The unadulterated action of the Ladini Shakti is displayed in the dealings of the damsels of Vraja and Srimati Radharani, who is the topmost participant in that transcendental group. The essence of Ladini Shakti is love of Godhead. The essence of love of Godhead is bhava, or transcendental sentiment, and the highest pitch of that bhava is called Mahabhava. Srimati Radharani is the personified embodiment of these three aspects of transcendental consciousness. She is therefore the highest principle in love of Godhead and is the supreme lovable object of Sri Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Vistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada was having a conversation with one Peace Corps worker at that time named Bob Cohen in Mayapur. Of course, later on, Bob Cohen became an initiated disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada named him Brahma Das. And that main aspect of that lengthy conversation with Bob Cohen, Brahma Das at that time, was transcribed and was printed as a book from the Bhakti Brihat Book Trust called Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. We have such a book. So at one time in the conversation, when Prabhupada introduced Krishna consciousness to Bob Cohen, Srila Prabhupada asked him whether he has any questions further. So Bob Cohen felt he was becoming purified by Srila Prabhupada's association. He felt that he's not worthy of being called like a gentleman in this world. Prior to that, he felt he was doing some humanitarian work in the Peace Corps and so forth, but not worthy. So he asked Srila Prabhupada a question after knowing something about Krishna consciousness from the devotees as well as this conversation with Srila Prabhupada. So he asked, is Krishna attractive to rascals? You know what's a rascal? Yeah. And then Srila Prabhupada said, oh yes. And Krishna is the supreme rascal. So he asked Prabhupada, how is this? Like that. And Prabhupada said, because Krishna is always teasing the gopis, especially Srimati Radharani. So our early disciple named Shyamasundar Prabhu, he asked Prabhupada one word, like in a questioning way, teasing? First time Prabhupada is speaking like this. And that too is not speaking to his initiated disciple, he's speaking to a new man, Bob Cohen. So Shyamasundar asked, teasing? And then Srila Prabhupada said, yes. So Shyamasundar said, how Krishna teases, we need to know. So Srila Prabhupada said, Radharani would go, and because she was apparently married, Radharani is apparently married to Krishna's shadow. So shadow in Sanskrit in Krishna Leela is not called Maya. It's called Abhas. A-B-H-A-S-E, Abhas. So Krishna is Rupa, Swayam Rupa. So when Krishna emanates his own shadow, that is called Abhas Rupa. And that Abhas Rupa takes the form of a personality called Abhimanyu. See? So Abhiman means in the consciousness Radharani feels she is married in Goloka Vrindavan. But in this Gokul Vrindavan here, there's an actual personality who's the form of Krishna's Abhas, or reflection or shadow, called Abhimanyu. So that is why Srila Prabhupada is saying simply here, because she was married and Krishna could not stay with her, so Krishna will find her somewhere on the street. And then Shyamasundar, what would he do? Prabhupada said, he would attack her. Attack. Like how a young boy will attack a young girl. See? But if a young man attacks a young woman, there'll be problems. There'll be? But this is young boy. This is young boy. And if young boy sort of teases a young girl, nobody takes that very seriously. The boy is 7, 8 years young, the boy and the girl is 6, 7 years young, and they play. If the neighbor's girl and next door the neighbor's boy, they playing in the boy's yard, she came over, they playing some game, and then he teases her, and the mother in the house is seeing the son teasing the girl, and what she does? She smiles. She smiles. Yes. But if the next door boy is 22 years old and her daughter is 16 years old, and the boy comes this year and he teases her, will she smile?
No.
She'll take broomstick. This is difference. This is difference, yes. This is difference. When Krishna teases Radha and Radha becomes angry, see, at Krishna, yes. It is called a purity of innocence. A purity of innocence. Just like you'll see that 5-6-year-old girl with a 7-8-year-old boy teasing. There's a purity of innocence. There's no grossness of attraction between male and female. There's no grossness of this lower natured sinful activity of the combination of male and female in technically what is called abominable sex life. Not like that. See? Only somebody who's renounced can understand that. Only somebody who's free from the bodily conception of life can understand that. Otherwise you'll feel, my wife is like Radharani. Or my husband is like Krishna. And see our baby, he's just like Krishna. He likes Makkan also. He likes butter. It's a very dangerous mentality. It will make you fall into the darkest regions of hell, as well as take birth in lower species of life, life after life. If you have that mentality. Most important. And Prabhupada goes on. This is a sidebar to give you a philosophical understanding. Now we get to the main pastime again. So Prabhupada says, Krishna sort of attacks Radharani, but he does not attack her. He jumps out from behind a bush and she gets frightened. She gets, you. And what happens? She falls down. And when she falls down, a cloth gets a bit disarrayed. Not jeans and t-shirt. That is weird. Jeans and t-shirt brings out your gross body. Not that. You are how you dress, just as you are what you eat. Krishna consciousness is a very, very, very deep culture. It's your natural inheritance of the soul. So when Radharani falls down, a dress sort of becomes a little disarrayed. In other words, sort of loose. See? And what happens? And Krishna says, so, now you're down. See? And Radharani says, no, Prabhupada says, like this, Radharani says, no, my dear Krishna, don't torture me in this way. Don't torture me in this way. Prabhupada says like this. Words are in front of me. Yeah. Then what she will do, she'll fall down again when she gets up. without Krishna touching her. Follow on again, without Krishna touching her. And then Krishna will take that opportunity because she's sort of in a defenseless, helpless situation. And Krishna will become more cultured. And he will, Prabhupada says, kiss her. Very rarely Prabhupada says this. Very rarely Prabhupada says this. And when Prabhupada says that, if you hear the conversation, you will, and Prabhupada and Krishna, and then he would kiss, and Prabhupada starts laughing. Prabhupada starts laughing. He just starts laughing. See? Just like the mother of the little girl may see this boy, and he goes to the cheek of the girl and he kisses her. And she, in her own way, without speaking, she feels, oh, nice. But if your sister is a young adult, and one young adult man comes and he does that, problem, right? That's the difference. There's a purity of innocence. But as the body grows up for conditioned souls, you become guilty in sin when you lose your purity of innocence. So what does that mean? So when one takes the Krishna consciousness, you come back, one comes back to the original consciousness, the soul, of the purity of innocence. You would have nothing to do with sinful activity, but still you'll have relationships on the spiritual platform. See? So the same analogy again. This little girl and little boy, they have a purity of innocence. When the respective parents of the boy and girl see that, all they will say, oh, how nice they are playing. They are playing. That's another English meaning of the word Leela. Krishna Leela or Radha Leela means to play. To play. There's no sinful activity. Means to play. Like how the parents say, how nice children are playing, play. Leela. Yes. Most important to understand that. Now there's another importance of Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani, she comes from Krishna. I use the word she comes from Krishna. And then naturally, somebody will say, so Krishna must be he. Krishna must be he, and Radharani must be she. See? Now Srila Prabhupada gives an example. Srila Prabhupada says that this Garbhodakshahi Vishnu. Garbha means like Garbhadan Samskar for the mother before she conceives the child with union with the father. Garbha means the womb. See? Not stomach, but internally the womb. So Garbhodakshahi Vishnu has a womb. And from the womb, through Garbhodakshahi Vishnu's navel, comes a stem of all the planetary systems. And on top of that stem of the planetary systems, there is a lotus flower that is sprouted. And on that lotus flower, Brahma is born without the help of Lakshmi, who's massaging Vishnu's feet. Can anyone be born like this in the material world? To take birth in the material body, in the material world, there must be mother and father. Well, nowadays that culture is also lost. There may not be mother and father and somebody is born also. So degraded they have become. So this Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, without the help of Lakshmi, he is Garbha. He has womb himself. So Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is both mother and father. What to speak of Krishna? Oh, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is an expansion of an expansion of an expansion of an expansion 7 times of Krishna. Now you get fire. Now we're going to talk about the compassionate nature of Radharani. You get? Fire. Fire emanates heat. Now from your vantage point living in Mauritius with a human body, can you associate with fire? Yes or no? But you can associate with the heat that comes from fire, which is temperamental and which is conducive for you to associate with. The heat from the fire. So Radharani is the heat and Krishna is the fire. Heat cannot be separated from fire. But you'll be separated from your boyfriend, you'll be separated from your girlfriend, you'll be separated from your husband, you'll be separated from your wife, and you'll be separated from your mother, and you'll be separated from your father. Because you are already separate when you try to come together. You are not together at all. And old age, disease, and death does that job for you. But you can never separate heat from fire. Similarly, you can never separate Radha from Krishna. That's the difference between your material experience of male and female and this experience of Leela or play. Now here's an interesting point. Although heat comes from fire, fire cannot experience heat. Yes or no?
Yes.
Although the sun rays or the sunshine comes from the sun, it emanates from the sun, but the sun cannot experience sun rays or sunlight. It can see it's coming from me, but it cannot feel that. Fire can see heat, I'm giving off heat, but I cannot feel that heat because I'm always fire. The heat is more temperamental and conducive. So similarly, Srimati Radharani, who's the heat coming from the fire, touches us, enters our hearts, enters our consciousness, and receives our devotee, our devotional service, and hands that over conducively into the heart of the fire of Krishna. We cannot directly serve Krishna. Even the pujari in the altar does not directly serve Krishna. They have to go through Guru Parampara, disciplic succession, even in the worship. Because fire cannot experience the heat, although it is the origin of heat, it expands as heat. Similarly, when Krishna expands as Srimati Radharani, and that when Radharani expanded from Krishna is not a question to be answered, because it is eternal. But for the sake of philosophy, we speak like this. Because Radharani is always there. And Krishna is always there. But Radharani is subordinate as the heat and Krishna is the principal as the fire. That's all. See? Now, because the fire cannot experience heat, similarly Krishna does not know and cannot understand and cannot experience Radharani's love for Krishna. Cannot. So therefore Radharani is not Krishna. At the same time, she is Krishna. But when she is not Krishna, she is the form of Krishna Prema. She is the form of loving Krishna. So loving Krishna in Sanskrit is called Krishna Prema. So we have a beautiful verse that is well known to the devotees. Namo Maha Vadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Tivisi Namaha. So when Krishna wants to experience Radharani's devotional service, and when Krishna wants to experience Radharani's affection, and Krishna wants to experience Radharani's love for Krishna, he has to become that. Has to become Radharani. Because he does not experience, just as the sun cannot experience his own rays and sunlight, or fire cannot experience its own heat. So that unification, when Krishna enters into the consciousness and heart of Radharani, and when the two become one, when there's no more Krishna, and when there's no more Radha, that one, when the two becomes one, that is the form of Shri Krishna Chaitanya, or Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. See? So when the Supreme Soul One becomes two, for the sake of ras or transcendental pleasure, then that's Radha and Krishna. But when Krishna feels incomplete by not experiencing Radharani's love for him, then Krishna enters into Radharani's consciousness and becomes Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's very, very, very simple. Very simple. And that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he comes to all of us in the Kali Yuga, he would like us to enter into serving Radha and Krishna. And he introduces service to Radha and Krishna by Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevala, kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gati anyata. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduces the chanting of the holy names. Very loudly, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And in Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada in the purport to text number 8 in chapter 12, it's in the Bhagavad Gita. You can read it. Srila Prabhupada says that the holy name Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The holy name, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and Krishna are non-different, which corresponds with the verse Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. And Srila Prabhupada says, therefore, when a devotee, Yes. Now who is a devotee? You want to know? A devotee is somebody, which Prabhupada says here. He says, therefore when a devotee chants Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is a devotee. Then someone may ask, but Maharaj, what if the devotee is not following the regulative principles? Then he should try to become a devotee by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Prabhupada says, when a devotee chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then Krishna and his internal potency, which is who? Srimati Radharani, are dancing on the devotee's tongue. So when Radha and Krishna dance on your tongue, there's only one qualification for them to dance from your tongue all the way into your heart. But it's not through the dear Prashanta, doctor, what do you call that pipe?
Esophagus.
Esophagus.
Yes, esophagus.
But it's not through the esophagus they dance to the heart. That will go to stomach. When you chant Hare Krishna, they dance on your tongue through your own ears. And then what do you have to do when you chant? You have to hear. That is how, when you chant and you hear the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, especially with beats in japa, then they dance through your ears all the way to your heart. Not that heart where they have a heart transplant. You know, they have to put stents, with the arteries and surgery. Not that heart. Because that heart can be replaced. Doctors will tell you. Not that one. Srila Prabhupada says in one purport, forget the reference, it's in my notes now. The soul has feelings. Soul has
Feelings.
Otherwise you cannot feel with this body. Without the soul, body is dead. The soul has feelings. And within the soul, there's a feature of a heart. And that heart means feelings, not this gross heart. So that's the heart. Radha and Krishna, when you chant Hare Krishna, they dance on your tongue. And they go hearing ears into that heart. And then you can become free from the bodily conception of life and nicely follow the principles of Krishna consciousness. When you hear the mantra. And the hearing of the mantra, Maha Mantra, must come from your own chanting. It's more powerful. It's a little different from kirtan, and that's called japa. It must come from your own chanting. Because your own chanting is not a musical arrangement. It's not a musical arrangement. It's your own effort. It's your own effort. It's your own desire, which is independent of anyone else's desire to have a support system from. Radha and Krishna will dance on your tongue through your own hearing into the deep recesses of the heart of the soul. And that's it. And this will be your last material body, no more birth again. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. So why that is so intimate? Because when Radha Krishna dances on your tongue, you become the abode. You become the stage. I'm trying to think of simpler English words. English is my first language. You become the stage. See? Or you become the holy dham in which the Rasa Lila takes place. This is a Rasa Lila. Radha and Krishna dancing on your tongue by the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Radhastami Mahamotsav ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananta Kodi Vaishnava Vrind ki Jai, Shri Radha Golokananda ki Jai, Shri Krishna Balaram ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki Jai, Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai, Shri Panchatattva ki Jai, Ananta Kodi Vaishnava Vrind ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitai Go Premanande. Thank you very much.